All right, wanted to run through today basically how I trade, kind of how I set up my charts, but more importantly, kind of what I'm looking for. So, made some bullet points here just to give a high level overview. Once again, this is just informational. What I do may not and probably won't work for everyone, but just to give those who are interested an idea. So, I get my content or my I would say education is anchored on a lot of ICT concepts, and then figure out what worked for me of that and kind of make it my own, and now kind of looking at what works for me. But that's typically the anchor. So what I believe is, the market majority of the time is going to either make or take liquidity. So relative equal highs is going to fill in fair value gaps, going to fill in new day, new week opening gaps, that type of thing. So I feel that I'm looking for areas that there's going to be liquidity, and that is going to be a little bit contrarian, so outside of normal retail logic. I for sure use a lot, and I'll show this in this video, new day opening gaps, new week opening gaps, fair value gaps, relative equal highs and lows, significant highs and lows. I would say significant highs and lows are, daily highs, 4-hour highs, daily lows, 4-hour lows, or just those, highs or lows that are really significant based on a news event, or they just stand out within the charts. With that, I'll explain very, very high level new day opening gaps, new week opening gaps, that type of stuff, but I will leave that to who's ever listening to maybe go into ICT or other areas to get more detail on that. They're more the experts. I'm showing how I use it and my interpretation of it and what seems to work for me more times than not. I am a short-term trader, session trader, so pre-market, so before it opens 9:30 a.m. and really the first 30 minutes of market open at 9:30 a.m. That's the majority of the time. Tons of different times and areas people can trade within London, lunch, afternoon session, London close, all of that. This is what works for me. I also believe being a specialist within any market is better than being having your hands dabbled in a lot. Jack of all trades, I feel, is a master of none when it comes to this. So I do what works best for me. News event trading, so non-farm payroll, FOMC, interest rate decisions, PPI, CPI, things like that. I think if you have a clear target, which is the basis of how I trade, when I get into the session or the day, I'm saying, hey, where do I feel price is going to go based on where it is now? And if I feel based on my targets and liquidity, it's clear, I'll walk through things that I'm looking at, but essentially I want to see price go away from that area. I want to see it maybe take out a high, take out a little bit of liquidity, and give me a reason to get back in towards where my, I would say, clear target is. So I'm going with it. If I feel like I'm not sure, a lot of times I might stay out of it, but if I feel like I'm sure and I'm not sure how much the price will run against me, I may enter with a bigger stop, or ideally be a little more patient. But essentially, I call it kind of a clear target contrarian, so I don't usually, unless I know that the target's going to be going with the trend, I try maybe not to follow it. I like to trade a lot of reversals, very, very small moves that I feel based on what I'm seeing in the chart might give me a run in the other direction for an extremely short-term profit. And then if I get lucky, it'll make into a bigger move. But for some reason, following the trend has never worked in my eyes for me. I know a lot of people make money on that, and good for them, but for me, it's not where I feel comfortable with it. So those are kind of the summaries of what I'm looking at and what I'm looking for. So I know that we're in the December contract. I'm just going back for simplicity reasons. So how I'm looking at my charts, as you see right here, and I know it looks extremely busy, and it is, but once I get down into the 1 minute or less, which is usually where I'm trading on, it is not busy at all. But this gives me an idea, and I usually will start the day by looking at the daily chart, where we're at. I'm looking for fair value gaps, where we've been, have we taken out a high, what's it telling me, have we had a couple small daily candles, right here that haven't been expanding, 2 or 3 of those, I'm usually looking for something to expand well, and just trying to get an idea of where it is. But most of my time is spent probably on the 15 minute or less, and then trading on the 1 or less. But that doesn't mean I'm not setting up my daily charts. So simply put, what I'm doing, the only thing that I'm really drawing on the daily charts, these other ones are, you'll see them on the smaller time frames, are daily, weekly, and even monthly fair value gaps and imbalances. So fair value gap here, just label it with a capital D. DVI is a daily volume imbalance, and you can see down here we had a lot of price action. I've got a lot of them. I know, like I said, it's busy, but that'll make sense when to get down to lower time frames. But I want it all on here, but I usually will look at it without any drawings. The drawings here are just to keep it on the same chart when I get into lower time frames. So let's say, for example, we're getting down into the 15-minute. You see how the lines start to not be as bad, and they start to give me targets, and that's what I'm looking at. So let me bump down to a 1 minute here and just kind of give you an idea. And let's just go back to September contract. Let's just go back to the first and scratch that. Let's go to the second. The first was a holiday, so we're going to get a little bit of wonky price action on that one. All right, both on the second. So what you'll notice here, if we go back and I'm looking at, new week opening gap, is where did we finish on Friday? If I'm looking at the ES, so Friday 459, we closed down here. Sunday we opened here. So I just use purple, it's just the color, and then I move those out to the right. But I make a note, new week opening gap 831. I put it on for the Sunday. That's just how we think about it. Some people put that for the Monday for the week starting. Doesn't really matter. Same thing here in the NQ. So I've got those. Other thing that I've got that you'll see here is I like to label all of my new day opening gaps. And my chart is in Eastern time zone. So if we go to back on Monday the 1st, and then I'm skipping that day, it was a holiday. Let's go to Tuesday. All right. So I always do this on the 1 minute. So right here we had 4:59 Tuesday, and we bump right into 6 p.m. So closed here, opened here. I use blue for this. I don't do the line as thick. I just put new day opening gap 9/2. That's my date. Same thing over here. Okay, so those are my new week, new day opening gaps. You'll see some of these bigger lines. That's going to be my daily volume imbalance, daily fair value gaps, all of that. And then the only other thing that I put in here really is what some trend lines that I think retail will look at, but in red. First presented fair value gap, so that's my first, I would say, noticeable fair value gap after 9:30. That price tends to respect. You can see it kind of later on the day here. It is respecting the lower part of that, hits the midpoint of it. So I use all those, and the more recent ones for me seem to be more beneficial, so that's why I always double click on it and look where I am. Typically speaking, if you look at the December contract, I've already set this up for Monday, upcoming Monday, even though I don't know where we're going to open yet, but I drag all of my weekly volume imbalance to see a WVI, daily volume imbalance, a lot of volume imbalances. And this is the Dow, by the way, and I'm looking at the Russell over here. Weekly fair value gap, weekly fair value gap, weekly fair value gap, daily volume imbalance, but I prep by pushing them over to, this one's a little bit closer, but I usually try and put them for 10:30 to 11 a.m. on the next day I'm going to be trading. Because if I'm trying to get in at 9:30 for that opening session, first 30 minutes or so, I want to, when I'm into a 1 minute time frame, I want to be able to see what this says without having to click into it. That way the new day, new week opening gaps, I'm just clicking into and just seeing what the dates are. Like I said, the more recent dates tend to respond a little better, but also when you get certain things Like here, I've got a new week opening gap and a new day opening gap decently close together. And if that corresponds, I would say, with some lows that I really like, if that's where my direction or my, I would say, bias, or what I'm feeling the price is going to move towards, that could make towards a really good target on those. So that hopefully gives you an idea on what we're looking at there. So let's go back to the seconds. I've got all this stuff drawn in here, which I know can look crazy confusing, but once you break it down, I don't think that it is so much, at least in my thought. And you'll see some of them end here. This is 9. We're on September 2nd. I only pull these forward, the new day opening gaps, for 4 weeks max, sometimes less. New week opening gaps, I will care all the way through the whole contract, because I think there's a little bit stronger effect on those gravitating towards the weekly opening gaps than the daily, but the daily I'll keep for 4 weeks. Probably longer than most, but if they overlap with others, I've actually noticed that you get some good play on them. So next up, what I'm doing is I'm typically going to be looking at, on the 1 minute, I might start with, once I've looked at the daily, and say, all right, if we're starting the day here at 6 a.m., relative equal highs, typically on those, even though the closer high is higher, not ideal, but I would typically be putting, okay, so we can have a run up here, potentially. That's a good target. The other thing I look at is, do we have anything lower? What are what is the correlating market? So what is NQ doing as well? Once again, we have relative equal highs right here. That would be a potential target. That does not mean that I'm taking it. There's a lot of things that come into play. For this one, for example, if we opened up at, so we've gone down all day. Sometimes this throws me off, but have barely took the high up here once we started this Tuesday the 2nd, but we did. And this thing just fell straight out of bed. When these things take off like this, it can be, but not all the times, a trending day. And I have trouble in those. I'm a little better with the range bound days. Days where it goes in one direction, I feel it's going to switch and go the other way. If it's going in one direction the whole day, typically for me, I need to stay out, or very, very short-term trades. And if I'm wrong, I'll lose, but that's just, it is what it is. So what I'd be looking at is right before we get to 9:30. Okay, we have relative equal highs right here. That would be another one that I would tentatively be focusing on. And we are right up against, it's a little bit older new week opening gap, but we've got one there. Okay, so typically we're going to open 9:30 down here, relative equal highs. Most times I like to wait 10-15 minutes to get in, unless I feel that we've exhausted it potentially. And I don't remember what happened on this day, but if I was going to take this north right here, I'd probably wait for something to come back down into this area. But my stop, doing a long position, give or take, I would probably want to have a little bit of buffer between that daily volume imbalance, that daily volume imbalance, and then we have a this dotted line is a new day opening gap. That's didn't really give me a gap. It was just open and closed right around the same line. So I know this isn't great risk to reward, which is why I might not have taken it, but essentially that's how I think about it. That would be my first, and up here would probably be my second. Here would be my third. I don't think price went in that direction this day, but hypothetically, if I was trading that, I want to see it take a low, relative equal highs. That's what I'm looking for. Drops down into here. That might be a long just right up into here. Oh, and it does hit it. Okay, so that would be one. That would be two. If I had 3 contracts on, boy, that's a, what do we got? 428 from, yeah, usually about 30. Handle run on ES is about where I feel safe. Non-news events for the session run. So that might be a little bit of a stretch, but it would either be midpoint here or right at that lower part of the new week opening gap. And there, it hit it. I might not have got that taken, unless I was low. That might have missed the target there, and then we go back down. So once again, if I'm entering here, 6,390.5, 432, and I mean you're 33. 33 handles. That's what I'm thinking in my mind, 20 to 30. And honestly, if I'm going short term, I'll take 4 to 5 handles in ES and put some extra contracts on if I feel it's gonna run back down or go the other way, or if I can get something quick out of it. But that's how I'm looking at that one now. A lot of people will think, and it's fine, boy, it's a horrible risk to reward. But if I feel I've got a good buffer down here, and I feel if it gets down there, it's got a lot to go through, and it's more likely to go up here, I'm not the best at deciding where my exact entry is, so I feel good I can have a clear target where it's going. But in this instance, honestly, if I was trading this, that would have been 1. Had I taken it up here, that would have been 2. Now we're 1 to 1. But I for sure guarantee you that would have been my first out, right at the top of these two. 10.5 handles, big deal, I've got money in. After that, my stop would probably go a little bit closer because I'm a profit. I don't want it to come down. If it comes down and takes me out, I'm not losing much profits. Take the money where I'm getting it because I'm more of a shorter term trader, and that's kind of what I am. But that's how I would set that one up on that day, looking at ES. So the great thing is we had the same thing. Target, I like this new week opening gap right here, right along with those. That would have been a nice one to have. This, for me, going back in here, gave me a better entry into here. This one took off pretty quick. Sometimes I'll probably be looking at the 30-second and 15-second here too. It comes back down into here off this order block right here. Because when we opened up, we didn't really make a new high. I mean, we have relative equal highs there, but because we didn't spend a lot of time up there, sometimes I feel these days are just going to fall out of bed and keep going. So I don't know on NQ if I would have entered here after we would have taken those out. Because once again, don't have to do it this way, obviously. Everyone trades your own way. But I like to have some room, and having that's a lot of stop on NQ, which can get costly quick. So probably wouldn't have been in that one. But if I was, because you see right here when I would have entered here, ideally would have been there. NQ is already up, and that once again confirms here I like that, because this one NQ is taking off before ES is, and it also kind of reassures me. And also took out a low, they're doing the same things, and NQ just runs a little bit quicker, which is good. But if I was feeling confident up here, would have been the out, but I liked this setup better, knowing the buffer that I had, and it hadn't taken off yet. But essentially, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So if we scroll through, I'm not looking at the afternoon. I normally don't trade those and look at it right now, but did come back up. I still think that looks like a target. Once again, I forget exactly what we did. That looks like a good target. So we're getting into bingo, at least with NQ. Hit it in London. Not in London, I'm sorry. That was actually pre-session. That hit it. So if I'm looking at the following day, and once again I'm looking at 1 minute charts, I would be referencing hour and daily charts in 15 minutes to give me a higher time frame reference. But I'm trading the session, and I feel a lot of times between a 5 minute and a 1 minute I can get a good idea of kind of understanding the flow and what's going on. So we have got sort of relative equal highs. I always look at where have we come from and where does this thing maybe want to go. Once again, did drop below 12 a.m., had a big run up. Right here we've got 8:34. My guess is we had some sort of a news event that day. I'm not going to look back and look right now, but that was Wednesday the 3rd. Relative equal highs here. If we traded that news event, I like to get in on those very, very fast. So those two lows would have been taken right about here as it starts going up, and I see it go up and take those. I would have liked, and once again I don't remember if I traded this day or not. I'm just going back in time. This probably would have been optimal. Probably would have given myself under that one, and then I would have taken a partial right there if it gets up that high. I'm not saying it will. I like those relative equal highs. right here as well. Took out the lows right after 8:30. Let's see if it wants to play ball. We've gone down. We're also not below opening price yet, but we did take out some lows. Does it go back up? I would have taken a partial right there, more than likely. And we're getting, okay, perfect. So we did hit it. Even better, right before 9:30. Okay, so looking at this now, what's going through my mind, what's going with both of these, ES feels what I call heavier because NQ is already getting that high and that high. ES is not playing that type of ball. So I'm thinking, we cleared out a lot down here, a lot of stuff to go through up here. Not as much up here, we have relative equal highs, but my guess would be, once again, not knowing, but how I would look at going back and trading, do we take this out, do we go up higher, and then do we make a run back into this area to come back down here? We've got some relative equal lows. It's a big run, but I want to see what happens right at 9:30, so let's see. All right, 9:21, still didn't take it, got close. Boom. So 9:31, we went down south fast. So now I'm thinking this is still in play. I'm also thinking too, if we somehow get down here, it might be worth going back up. I need to see where we're going next. We are right 9.2, so that's just, what day are we on? We're at 9.3, so this is just yesterday's new day opening gap. And one thing I also noticed too is if we hit that one right on the midline, sometimes I may try and take an extremely quick trade off of it. If I see it reacts, if I can just get something really quick, maybe when it bumps back up into there, and honestly, maybe halfway to that wick, give myself a little bit of room down here. Not saying I would, but sometimes that's how I think. It respected that very nicely, and sometimes when it does that, it's going to shoot back up. See, right there, it even got back to this new day opening gap. So we've got a lot of choppy price action, which I love right there. But because we held down there, we're not continuing to go down. I would still be thinking that we're going back up. I probably wouldn't take this one yet. Very choppy in ES. Still have a target up, but also the thing that I remember, that I think about is we came from up here. Even though we cleaned out down here, we might not be done within it, but if I was going to trade it right now, it doesn't look like I would if I was in this yet. I would be a little bit more prone to go north because we have all of these fair value gaps. We've got some new week, new day opening gaps up there. Does it go up? Yeah, it does, right there. So would have been, I would have still potentially taken that around 10 o'clock. Took that one out. What you notice here is NQ was a better trade going north, and we just barely took that too. Absolutely close right there. So would want to make sure that, yeah, we had a couple handle or two in there. That one went up there to clear those. ES had nothing to do with it. If I was potentially looking for a 10 a.m. trade, my guess is ES is going to be hunting down here based on the fact that it couldn't even get up here and NQ did. So let's see what happens. And I am wrong. That's why I usually trade 9:30 opening and nothing after, because I'm not used to looking at it. However, that would have been a good trade. This one was a little bit late to the party, but we had relative equal highs. One thing too to note, we were right on this daily fair value gap here to here. So we had hit that one nicely. We went a little over it, but the body was inside of it. That could have been another sign that, okay, we're done there. And also if you're looking at NQ over here, roughly in that same area, it is not making that new low. So if you believe in divergence, which means, one similar market's doing one thing and the other just can't quite get there, it might be going that other direction. So on that one, I look between 9:30 and 10. Here was my target. We were low. That would have been a good trade had I taken it. Don't remember if I did, but that's kind of how I think about it when I go back through here. And let's take a peek on where did we go on Thursday morning. All right, let's just get an idea here. All right, so we're right at roughly 9 o'clock there. Smush this together. So now we've cleared up top, kind of around London close. See this going up there. We have relative equal lows right here that I'm looking at. I'm not digging the targets as well on NQ. However, these are close. Might give us a run back up there. My bias right now, just within the session, we opened here. Were we able to get back down? We did get down below it in London. I'd be looking south initially. We need to see what happens at 9:30 initially. I've got two good targets on ES. NQ can run. Maybe that one. I like the targets here better. So then all I want to do is I start wanting to see what are we doing at 9:30. Hypothetically, if we're in this trade. All right, perfect. Like I said at the beginning, that is what I love to see, is right at 9:30, took out that, got some buffer up here. So perfect world, let's go with short. We would probably, I would go up that high, I really would. My optimal would be down here. I'd be telling you I'd be taking the first one if I was doing 3 contracts. This is absolutely where I'd be taking that first one. Maybe even a little bit higher just in case it doesn't want to play ball. First one. Second one would be roughly around this yellow line. So I might have been wrong on this one, but let's zoom in because I'm kind of looking ahead right now. But came up here, this 1 minute volume imbalance, that usually would, if I could get in, I'm more of a manual entry person, the limit order, that would have been it. Okay, so now going down, boom, 1, 2, don't think I'm getting that final one, and nope. Typically speaking though, if I took that one out, my stop would now be, still have a buffer here, and some buffers here would be up there. That would be the first one. I'd move it down once, if and when I hit this one. And this is always, and I know I need to be more patient, but when these run back up after I've hit one, a lot of times I'm going to shove this down even more. I would have been fine today if I did, if I would have put it roughly at profit. But once that second one was hit, I guarantee you my stop's now right here because I'm not losing any more money on it. It would have ran back and stopped me up, but I would have been in profit just fine. NQ moves fast. I think on the 32nd, I would have, or 15, I would have had a little better entry. That one gave me much better option to get in. This one came down quick. Right here would have probably been what I'd be looking at. Once again, I'm always going, what would it be, 23, so 50. Where are we at? Let's say roughly 48, 58, 68. Let's see, my ideal one would be down here. There, 1 to 1. And I would have, I guarantee I would have been up here. Want to get this new week opening gap as just one more barrier for me. Once again, that's a lot of space. Most traders don't trade like that, but I like it because, like I said, my entries aren't always the best, but I want to be confident where price is going. So if it had gone up here, would have hit that. This would have been my out one. With that out one, guarantee I would have moved my stop down to here. Okay, go down here, out two. I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have went any lower than that, given where everything was. And once again, right here, these are some nice runs after we've cleared out that low. A lot of times we see this take off and not fill that in, and we're coming right off of a daily fair value gap, boom, back in here, relative equal highs, and we're back into a new day opening gap from roughly a week ago. But my trade, this is probably for me, probably can have a better setup than what I'm seeing here. I like to go short. And we had some nice targets lower on ES and QES too, but they just weren't quite as great. What might have sold me on it is we had a new day opening gap. We have a lot in here, but also I look at that as a barrier to say, hey, we may not get through all that. It did just fine, and it got through that, but that's how I'm thinking at that one. Once again, just looking at the session, where have we come from, where are we now, where do I think it's going? Need to have a significant and proper target, and then we were at probably right in here, so we had roughly 649, 11 handles with enough contracts, and even that you're in the money. The best thing ever though that I like, so I don't like to beat them that long. 938 would have cleared me in. Yeah, that's roughly a little over 30 minutes, not even 40 minutes ish to get there. Get in and get out, and then get on with your day. So we are on Thursday. Fridays can be a little bit wonky at times. Let's see what we'll have there, and we'll probably wind this up. Friday the 5th. So we have been, just for reference, we've been going up a lot. Specifically going into Friday. Oops. And this would have been non-farm payroll. This was the first Friday, which I believe I did trade on that one. Either way, 8:30, you can tell it was non-farm payroll because I had a big move. Just with how much it ran up, once again, start of the day, we really didn't have anything that came back down into the lower part, but we ran up a lot of space to fill in. We've got some good targets down here with new week opening gap, new day opening gap. My assumption would have been I want to be going south. Okay, that takes off right there. Sometimes I might be getting into this thing right around in here. Usually for non-farm payroll, I like to wait at least 30 minutes, if not a little bit longer. If I did, this would not have been a good entry, I can tell you that right now, because I would have taken here, give me 33, 43. I would have to go a little bit more than 53. And what I don't like about this, I'm just saying, if I would have taken this probably would have been my final target. I would have probably taken something at the midway point of this halfway, taken the first one, either at this new day opening gap or that new day opening gap. Halfway down the wick would be a second one. This would be my third. I haven't seen enough here, and I don't have enough buffer up here to be assured that it's going to not keep going up. Okay, so let's just see. 9:30. So now we've been in for an hour. We're stalling. This over here, and Q actually looks better because we have some, not S&T there. They both made a new high, but strong move. If I had seen that move and been in it, I would probably be somewhere off of, oops, wrong direction, somewhere off of this order block, and then probably would go, yep. My first out would be here or here, second would be here, third would be here, and honestly, I would probably be 48, probably be up into that vicinity. It would be this look. So let's see how these would pan out. Okay, so got one, this would be two, got two, and would have got three. Right here would have got all of those. So once again, I'm just trying to use some logic and say, hey, the market cleaned out people down here, ran back up, but I just think we had a lot of targets down here on this day. And we had been running up majority of the weekend on Friday, but I've also been burnt on those trending days. But what I liked up here is that would have been an early entry. A better one, honestly, probably would have been right here. if I would have done that one, and then you could go 23 above here, do 62 and change, my risk reward is a lot better. So we have 1.56, 1.24, it all adds up. But sometimes I'm not overly patient like I should be, but because I leave a lot of room for stops, which I know most people don't like, and do what you want to do, I would have been fine. Even when it came up here, 41 to 53, had an extra 12 handles on that one, and it really came down nicely that day. And I know this is all hindsight, but I'm just giving a frame of reference for how I think about the market. So essentially, like I mentioned before, I'm looking at where does it clearly want to go? Where does the logic and knowing how the market tries to work help me? Relative equal lows, significant lows, relative equal highs, significant highs. I'm using new day, new week opening gaps, higher level like 4-hour and daily and weekly and monthly fair value gaps, volume imbalances to help drive my targets and where things are going to go, and also, just trying to be involved, even if I'm not trading in the markets, and just seeing what's happening at the same time I'm trading every day is valuable for you to start to get a feel on what's going on. Like I said, for me, it's a continual process. I'm being patient. If I leave a runner on here for both of these, I mean, my goodness, down there, you take that one. Now you're close to doubling your profits even on that one contract. And then way down here, we have all of this. It's probably a daily volume imbalance. We're going to have some new day opening gaps in here. Yeah, 825 hits right off that one. Went down really, really fast, but once again, that would have been in profit. And I'm looking to take, get in, get out quick. As I continue to trade more, the patience will be evolving and getting better understanding where we're going. But I definitely like to look at the market that way, and hopefully that helps give you an idea on how I trade, what I look for specifically with AM sessions, to kind of line up my session, I would say, bias, my session narrative, and where I think it's going to go within the session I'm training of literally 9:30 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's all I'm looking for to get in, get out, and become a specialist within that area. So hope that helped.